Boruto summons Garaga, the giant pissed-off snake, into battle for the very first time. And just like when Ash used Charizard for the very first time, it does not end well. The battle against the discount Akatsuki begins in another episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations. Lots of great action in this episode, and as a fan of action anime, you know I'm completely okay with that. What I especially loved about this episode is the mileage we got out of the action. Not only did we get to see Boruto and Sarada in action, but we got to see, again, the reunion of Ino Shikacho. They always do end up working really well together, and we get to see them going up against Kokyo and Sekie of this mysterious group which apparently still has no name. It is officially confirmed in this episode that both Kokyo and Sekie are not human. They're actually a more advanced form of the Akuta, the giant mud monsters with masks. And of course the big difference is that they seem to have a little more free will, they're significantly more intelligent, and they have the ability to be implanted with ninjutsu. That's actually what's kind of unique about these characters. They inherently don't know how to use jutsu at all. They're actually given these abilities by their creator, and Sekie, of course, is able to use the hidden art which was utilized by Deidara in the previous series, being able to mold clay and make it explode. What is interesting, however, is that unlike Deidara, he doesn't seem to have the mouths on his hands. I don't know if that was a part of the jutsu at all, or maybe Deidara was just into some really freaky shit. Look, I don't mean to go on a diatribe here, but it's weird. I mean, this is a series of a lot of weird things, but no one ever comments about the fact that Deidara has mouths on his hands. And then you have Kokyo, who just seems to be a big physical badass, using his giant tonfas, which also act as some pretty nifty boomerangs, but these things are incredibly powerful what they're actually capable of, and he wields them in a pretty awesome way, I have to admit. So if you're looking for some action, this episode is certainly going to give you just that, with Ino Shikacho battling against Sekie, and overall just making him look like a fool. And then you have Boruto and Sarada, who seem to have a significantly tougher time with Kokyo, who seems like he's one of the more senior members of this group and manages to push them back, as well as taking out some ninja in an extremely violent and very awesome fashion, I do have to say. But of course, one of the biggest moments from this episode is Boruto using his summon for the very first time. He decides that he's going to show off, and he summons Garaga, who decides to do absolutely nothing. Basically, he's just along for the ride. He's just waiting for that moment where Boruto is going to fail in front of Mitsuki so that he can eat this kid and be done. He signed a contract, but he never agreed to actually work with him. Luckily, all it takes is for the villains to say one wrong thing to actually end up pissing off Garaga, and he decides to reluctantly get involved with the battle, which amounts to him basically just slamming his tail all over the place. I hope he's going to add a little bit more to the battle than just doing some tail waggling, but it's very obvious that he's not even really caring at this moment. But I have to say, the moment of actually seeing Boruto standing atop his head when he was summoned for the first time is a really cool image, especially set in the moonlight. But the big emotional punch of this episode comes from when Mitsuki decides to reveal himself and he is reunited with Boruto, which is not so much a reunion as it is Mitsuki just punching the ever-living shit out of him with a big electrical-styled attack, which sends Boruto flying like goddamn Wile E. Coyote. Boruto desperately tries to reason with Mitsuki and to get some clear answers out of him, but Mitsuki just continues to do the whole "it's my whole will" thing. We'll talk about this later. He decides to leave, and the entire scene just ends up reminding me of that whole arc where Sasuke left the village. It's hard not to think of that because this is so similar, but I still have a feeling that Mitsuki has some sort of ulterior motive here. He's a character that's always been really hard to read, and a lot of that did have to do with his manufactured personality and the fact that he was made to be mysterious. But I really do believe that this is going to be the arc which makes us look at him from a completely different angle, and I can't wait to see how it's ultimately all going to play out. Either that or he is just being brainwashed by all these weird people from Hidden Stone, which, if the next episode is any indication, is really going to kick off into something really interesting. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Boruto? Very simple episode. It's all about the action, and you know what? I'm okay with that. It's something that the Naruto series has always excelled at, making a lot of really cool action scenes, making them fun and inventive, with lots of crazy twists and turns. This one was pretty straightforward, and then you pretty much know what was going to happen with every group, especially with Ino Shikacho, but I have to say, just seeing them all together is always really freaking awesome, and I never get tired of seeing Inojin summon that massive, ridiculous tiger. It's both funny and terrifying at the same time. funny because it's a cartoon drawing, and scary because it's a tiger that will rip your throat out. It's also worth mentioning that this episode had some pretty good production value attached to it. Not the best stuff from the series, but a consistently good-looking episode, especially when Sekiei was going bananas and freaking out all of his crazy expressions. His face is covered up by bandages, but you can definitely see a lot of the emotion in his eyes and in his mouth. It's really impressive stuff, I have to be honest, and again, I think shows that the Boruto anime series is a little more consistent in terms of quality when compared to what actually came before it. The whole thing with Boruto getting beaten up by Mitsuki and everything, like I said, I'd feel more behind it if I didn't think that Mitsuki has some sort of ulterior motive here, some sort of plan that involves his will. It's probably going to end up being something ridiculous and convoluted and something that only makes sense to just him. But again, that's what I love about Mitsuki. He's carving out his very own story here, and so far it's been fairly unpredictable. The villains themselves, so far, they're okay. They have some alright visual designs, but I wish there was a little bit more to them outside of that they are quite literally golem people who are implanted with big explosion attacks. But still, I'm excited to see what the rest of this arc is going to deliver, especially with a preview for the next episode. This was a good action episode showing us more of this evil villainous organization and how Mitsuki's little snake mind has been twisted. So let's see what's going to happen next. I'm giving this episode right here a solid 4 out of 5. You guys definitely need to check it out, but if any of you did watch the episode, tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Let's talk about this episode, what we liked, what we didn't like, and what we hope to see from the rest of Boruto, Naruto Next Generations. Thank you for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.